This is such a big, massive trauma. It has to be intentionally addressed through mental health services.
How we handle that collectively is going to determine a lot about how traumatizing this is for everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking with Tim and Bettina from Natural Lifemanship, which is an organization that trains mental health professionals. And in this time when mental health is so important and so many of us are having to shift to telehealth, we want to hear a little bit about what they're seeing around the crisis.
Natural Lifemanship as an organization, we educate and empower professionals to do the work that they do, supporting and caring for their clients, helping them to heal and helping them to grow. We are helping the helpers. What we saw is that therapists felt powerless at first. Our population tends to be people who are interested in doing therapies that are more non-traditional, less what you think of as a sort of sitting in an office and talking. We're talking therapists who have chosen to be outside with their clients, moving around, doing stuff. They do movement and sometimes dance, and this is what they do. They went, oh my God, I don't know how to do telehealth. I don't know if I can help people through telehealth. I don't know if I can connect with people that way. We know we have to connect with our clients to help them.
There must be trauma for the actual mental health professionals. They can't do what they feel like they were put on this planet to do and help other people.
That's right.
Well, and it's not only their passion, but it's their livelihood.
Yeah.
Sure,
And now my clients can't come. How am I going to survive while I'm helping my clients survive?
What I watched, I get emotional about this a little bit. But what I watched when this happened was in 2 to 3 days, the people that we serve switched like to telehealth. I mean, they just, the change was massive. They went, oh, holy, what am I going to do for my high risk clients? And that's what we jumped in on. I mean, the day after all this happened, our team sat down and we were like, how are we going to support all these professionals? What do we do? How do we do that in free or pay what you can? We started doing webinars on how do you do attachment-based work through a computer screen? How do you, if you want to try to really bring nature and bring the horses still into your sessions because these clients need it, how do you do that? And then we started, what I realized quickly too, as we met with people, the first week, every call I had with the professionals in our field, people were bawling. They're like, it's not working. I can't connect with people this way. My clients are falling apart. I can't help them. You know, we're talking about the trauma of everybody, but we forget about the frontline mental health workers. So we started running all these different sort of group therapy sessions to help build resilience in the professionals that are serving, because what they have for the world is more important now than ever.
Your business is also in the same spot, right? Like your trainings aren't normally webinars and Zoom calls. Like what does your business normally look like, and what does it look like right now?
Well, typically we do our trainings face to face. Our model of trauma-focused therapy is where we incorporate the relationship between human and horses. We train people how to build a relationship with a horse that should mimic a good relationship with a human.
One of the things that I think makes us unique is that we are focused on addressing how does trauma affect our body and our brain, right? Trauma is not a cognitive exercise. Talk to people today about what's happening, and people can give you some sort of a cognitive idea about what's occurring, but there's something deeper, right? It's deeper and it's inside their body. Horses are nonverbal. And so when we learn how do we really build a relationship with the horse, how do we begin this form of communication and refining it, what we start having to do is address what's really going on inside our body, right? You know, everything that we do is focused on relationship and connection. And that's not necessarily new in the trauma field, right? So in the trauma field, no matter where you learn, there's sort of this idea that the relationship is the vehicle for change. And so we need relationships to heal. That's actually what's so unique about this time in our lives right now, is that we need relationship to help us be resilient to what is happening in our world. Yet we're supposed to keep such a distance.
This is a really unique trauma. I keep at times, and Amanda, this is something we talked about, trying to talk myself out of this being a trauma for me. Because compared to someone who has a sick loved one or a nurse right now, it's a very different thing. But are you thinking of this as a trauma for everyone?
It's so global. It's so global. And it is global because when our world becomes unpredictable, chaotic, all of those things that are happening right now, isolating, right? I mean, one of the number one definitions of trauma is that we feel alone.
Well, and everyone's having to survive in a different way.
Yeah.
And anytime we're pushed into that area of our brain, it's a traumatic event. One of the things that trauma does sometimes, it locks us into this state of survival. Combat trauma is especially like this. It puts us to living in a state of anxiety instead of a state of calm. And the longer it lasts, the more our brain begins to pick that up as a normal thing.
And so this is such a big, massive trauma. Millions of people unemployed, right? Faster than we've ever seen it. The level of trauma is changing people's bodies. Now, that's stuff that can change back if it's addressed, but it has to be intentionally addressed through mental health services.
How we handle that collectively is going to determine a lot about how traumatizing this is for everyone.
It feels like there's going to be a huge need for drawing attention to awareness around this, because you feel like you should have just been able to manage through this trauma by your own wherewithal and by your own mental fortitude, when really we're not acknowledging that this is truly trauma for everyone. Everyone is experiencing a level of trauma through this crisis.
Those of us, I think, who minimize what happened and we try to just go back to normal and pretend it didn't, I think the level of shame we'll feel in our bodies, if we don't allow ourselves to grieve something, that level of shame, that is trauma. That's going to drive people.
When I have my down days, that is part of what is driving it, is that I get down on myself for feeling down.
Right.
Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I shake myself back out of this? Like, I keep forcing myself into this list of silver linings. Like, well, here should be the silver linings I see today.
Certainly, like, looking for positives in situations is not a bad thing. But I do wonder, how often does that come from, Amanda, the shame you're describing, or the desire to push down the parts of this that are just inevitably powerless and hard and uncertain? So it's funny, I've started to see those silver lining messages, not negatively, but I read them or experience them with a grain of something, because this sucks. It's the worst.
Yeah.
It is. Well, that causes you not to trust yourself.
Yeah.
When you're looking at this silver lining all the time, but down deep inside, you're a wreck. You start seeing yourself kind of as a fraud. And that's one of the other things trauma does to us, is it robs us of our ability to trust ourselves.
I also struggle with the fact that I'm not really sure exactly how deep the mourning or grieving needs to be. Meaning, I don't know if I knew when life was going to go back to normal, or what normal was going to look like, I could somehow maybe allow myself to grieve the difference between the two.
In the therapy world, we call it ambiguous loss. And usually that's considered the outside of the norm. That's like the harder loss that we talk about in the grief world, right? And we are all experiencing it right now.
I'm so glad that there's a term for it, because just even hearing a term for it, then that makes so much more sense to me. Okay, ambiguous loss. Yeah.
Hearing that there is a term for it makes you feel less alone in it. There's enough people that have felt it. We have a whole word for it. And you instantly feel at least a little bit,
It's amazing how that works. Yeah.
Yeah. You could do what I've done, which is just find a lot of work to do and spend a lot of time with my daughter and be totally fine. And then just find that your stomach is really messed up for no reason. Like I think it's unrelated. I must have just eaten something.
The dangers of not recognizing those feelings and emotions and really learning how to connect with them is that if you just stop them, they get to come out whenever they want to. And you don't have much control over it that way. It's when you're trying to hide those things from yourself that they get to control you instead of you controlling them.
When you add in the element of being a parent in this environment too, I think that's interesting because I'm trying to process how I'm experiencing this, but then I need to put on this very, very brave face for my daughter. And I find that in and of itself is really emotionally and mentally challenging.
I feel like you just described what every therapist in our field is going through. It's amazing to sit on a Zoom call with one of my clients and listen to them talk about the level of anxiety, right? The level of anxiety they're having or how hard it is today. And there have been moments I get off the call with them and I think, well, I mean, for Pete's sake, I'm going through the same thing, and we're often all in the same level of survival.
I wish we had like 4 hours for this call and could do the whole thing unedited as a podcast. But a big part of the idea of this, other than Amanda and I getting a free therapy session, is to help y'all's business. So your normal business model is you travel places and work with people in person. So, as much as any business, yours has been impacted. How did you make the decision to launch this stuff, pay what you can, when I'm sure you are also not in the kind of financial spot you want to be in right now?
Well, we realized that all the people that we serve, as their businesses struggled because of this, that they weren't going to be able to pay for things that they still needed in the way that they were before. Mm-hmm. And we were willing to take that hit with them. Because if we don't stay with them now, then they're not going to be there when this comes back, and we're not either.
It has brought us some clarity, and I am ready to get back to in-person stuff. I mean, absolutely, we want to do that. But what's happened is we've also figured out how to make our work and our training more accessible for people than it has ever been before.
We're seeing that across small businesses, those that are really kind of almost leaning into this, that this is forced focus to their business model, that is forcing you to think about what are we really, really good at? How are we going to shift the way in which we deliver this? We'll go back to the way we used to do it because that's what we love about it. But perhaps it's opened up these other doors for doing what we do for more people.
We need people to be able to continue to learn what they need to learn so that they can be on the front lines supporting people. And so that's why we've also made a bit of a shift right now to raise some scholarship funds so that we can give either full or partial scholarships to people so that they can do this virtual training and be able to afford it.
To me, so much about this does feel helpless right now. But one thing that we do have power in is how we respond to it. And how long the tail of this thing is and what it looks like, I feel like has so much to do with the kind of work that you guys are doing. So thank you for doing it. It's really important.
Thanks for your help.
Thank you all for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our pleasure. Y'all be well.
Bye.
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 To help Natural Lifemanship fund scholarships that will provide frontline mental health workers with expertise and support, please join Deluxe and Flow in donating to their GoFundMe page at the link in this post. And we'll be continuing to interview small business owners who are stepping up for their communities. So check back at deluxe.com/bigheart for more incredible stories. Or send us a story from your hometown. #SmallBusinessBigHeart.